I forgot to mention Steve at Zumbar. See, I'm already in trouble. I should have notes.
Is Zumbar incredible?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that place
yeah,
is
I've known
good.
Steve. I've known Steve for like 25 years. He's a great guy.
Well, I think the thing is still recording, so I'll clip that out and
Here, wait.
we'll edit it. We'll edit it into the beginning.
Take two, Joe.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Roast West Coast podcast. I'm Ryan Wolt, and I'm glad you're here for this episode featuring Marea Coffee. And I'm glad you're here because this is it. This is the very last episode of Season 1 of the Roast West Coast podcast, which featured the Coffee Roasters of North County, San Diego. This show has been a direct reflection of the circumstances imposed upon us all by the coronavirus. I know we're all sick of talking about it, but the pandemic has changed everything. The true impact won't be known for years, even decades, and how it impacts you will depend on a billion different variables. For me, early on, I knew that the thing I missed the most was getting a cup of coffee, or even better, meeting someone else for a cup of coffee. So I tried to figure out how to replicate that from home, and I came up with the idea for the show. I had no idea if anyone would be willing to be on it. I had no idea if anyone would be willing to listen to it, and later in the process, if anyone cared enough that a newsletter recapping and providing depth to the topics covered on the show would make any sense. But it turns out I wasn't the only one craving that connection over a cup of coffee. Throughout the season, I got to meet, albeit virtually, some of the people behind the best roasteries and some of my personal favorite roasteries in North County, San Diego. It has been a blast, and there will be a Season 2, which is exciting. More about that after my conversation with my final show guests, Grayson Adams, Joe Bettinger, and Reyjay Solaris, who front the Solana Beach, California-based Marea Coffee. That's Marea, not Maria, as I learned. We were also joined at times by Reyjay's baby, who provided some much-needed pandemic working-from-home context. Marea is primarily a subscription-based service, but you can still buy individual bags as well, just to sample all of their different roasts. They've pursued a collaborative model by partnering up with local sports stars and artists. They actually came to my attention after I had a virtual tequila happy hour with Taylor Steele, North County's own acclaimed surf filmmaker. They've also partnered with skateboarders Danny Way and Alfonso Rawls, snowboarder Kimi Fasani, artists Chris Benchler and Sky Walker, and surfer Rob Machado, just to name a few. And in just a minute, we'll drop into my conversation with the guys, Grayson, Joe, and Reyjay. But if you haven't already, please take a moment to sign up for the Roast West Coast newsletter at roastwestcoast.com. The free newsletter is great, and with it you're going to get episode recaps and show updates, and the paid subscription, which is good for a full year, is even better. Plus, I'm still running the promo subscription through January, where a paid subscription comes with a copy of Eli and Jane, the fiction novella with some great coffee drinking scenes, and with the money from subscriptions, I've been buying coffee for frontline health workers. Let's be honest, they deserve way more than just a cup of coffee, but it's a little something to let them know that we appreciate them. And with Chris O'Brien at Coffee Cycle's help, other people have been kicking in too, so we've been continually buying coffees for the past month. You can find details on roastwestcoast.com. Now it's time for yet another cup of coffee. And this show with the team from Marea. So I'd say Joe, Grayson, and Reyjay of Marea Coffee, welcome to the Roast West Coast podcast. I appreciate you guys joining me today. It's great to meet you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to meet
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Yeah, if you could just do me and us, the listeners, a favor, and just introduce yourselves and just what you do at Marea Coffee so they can place a name to the voice.
I guess I'll go first. My name is Grayson Adams. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of, it's actually pronounced Marea, which means it's Spanish for the tide.
It's good for a host to do his research and know the names of the people he's talking to.
No, it's super common. Since day one, we've gotten, is it named after Marea, the island in Tahiti, or Maria, all sorts of things. So, but yeah, it's actually Spanish for the tide. So Marea is the proper way, but Marea, we just all call it Marea. So yeah, I had this idea a few years back and got together with some friends, approached Joe Bettinger, and eventually Reyjay came on board soon thereafter. And I kind of make sure that the ship is on track and, you know, our vision gets executed, what we want to do on a day-to-day basis. And these guys have other special talents they bring to the table that I won't take up too much time, so I'll just pass it on over to Joe.
Cool. Joe Bettinger. I'm the, Chief Coffee Officer and CFO. I handle all things coffee, from the sourcing of the green beans at origin and getting those beans up here and imported, and all the roasting production. And that's pretty much what I do.
Yeah, so my name's Reyjay Solaris, and I've been helping with a couple different things, but I do primarily marketing and then technology. So building the website, getting the subscriptions up and running, customer service, and that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Speaking of the website, you guys are a subscription-based coffee roasting company. There's no shop that people can walk up to and get like a latte or a cup of coffee or anything. So I'm wondering, Grayson, what was the origin idea for this? What inspired it? And then why pursue that subscription-only business model?
At the time, I just had seen how, and mind you, this was about 3-4 years ago, so way pre-COVID, just seeing the future of e-commerce and how, my mother was was about 70 at the time. I think she's 74. She'll kill me for saying that, by the way, but she was starting to order groceries more online and things like that. Amazon was exploding as big as ever, and just saw that subscription model coming out, like Dollar Shave Club, things like that. Hadn't really seen it in coffee yet. Like, to be honest, it was kind of, I followed what St. Archer Brewing did. I saw that they brought on a bunch of action sports superstars, past legends, artists, etc., etc. And they created something unique in the craft beer industry, and I thought that was really cool. So followed them and what they did, and I'm like, you know what, that'd be cool if somebody did that with coffee. And looked around and nobody was. And, born and raised in this town, I had access to a lot of talented individuals, local surfers, skateboarders, artists, like I said. And I saw the opportunity, like, hey, we could probably approach some of these guys and come together and do something cool. I remember, back to that previous question about not doing a brick and mortar, like a retail place someone could come up and get a latte, was simply that's a completely different business model that costs a lot of money that I don't have. We don't have, nobody has. So building a brand we can sell a product online was a little bit more feasible financially.
What was your sales pitch then to some of the ambassadors that you have? Danny Way, I think a friend of mine, Skywalker, is involved with you guys as an artist. Kimi Falsani. I mean, a whole bunch of great people in their fields. How did you go up and just say, hey, I have this idea. Do you want to be part of it? I mean, how was that a difficult sell? Was that something that you had to have like you're prepared with your little deck, or was it just like as simple as like, let's get a coffee or a beer and here's an idea I have?
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much that. First, I had to convince these guys to come aboard and be a part of this and creating the brand and creating, the whole vision of what we wanted to do and what we wanted Marea to become. Once they were on board, we did just that. We had some certain guys we wanted to target and approach, and we built a cool investment deck, a website, had the vision, and literally went and had coffee with Danny Way one morning and just said, hey, this is what we want to do. Would you be interested in coming on board? And he was super receptive and positive towards it. Same thing, we went over to Rob Machado's house, sat in his living room, kind of explained the vision, who we were, what we wanted to do. Would you be interested in being a part of it? And then he suggested Chris Ben Jetler and Kimi Fasani. We ran into Taylor Steele, and Todd Glazer is a local kid around town. Reyjay's good friends with Sky. And Danny suggested Alfonso Rawls, who's another local North County legendary skateboarder. And we kind of just approached them all in that sense. Like, hey, this is something cool, and would you like to be part of it?
And Joe, you come from a coffee background. I believe you were a coffee broker, are a coffee broker.
I am, yeah. Yep. Importer and trader. And so that was another facet of this, was having the direct connection to the origins where the coffee's grown and being able to work directly with the producers, the farmers, and explain that story and just have that, from where the coffee's grown and taking it all the way to the consumer. So that's one thing that's a little bit unique too about Marea is we do that. And I go down and I visit these guys. They're our partners. We're trying to do a lot of stuff at Origin to help these communities down there. That's a big deal that I like to do. And so, in order to do that, the best thing to do is to be able to sell their products, to sell their coffee, to continually year after year make a commitment to them and to buy their their products and to buy it at a price that they can make a living. That's really important as well. So kind of taking out some of the middleman that might exist there has helped us to, be able to provide more for them at origin too, and really have a partnership with a lot of these guys.
Sure. And I would say, just from talking to other roasters, I know a lot of our great roasters in town have taken origin trips and do that, but you being the actual broker is something that is unique to you guys. I don't think that I've talked to anyone else who is like a broker that is part of their company yet.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of an interesting thing to cut. When you say cut out the middleman, I mean, I talk to a lot of people who say origin stories, so I want people to know like that really is different than what we've heard from other roasters.
And that's why it was intriguing to me, being on kind of following the entire supply chain. So when Grayson came to me and had the idea, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I'm just trying to get more exposure and, get more things back to origin and coffee and, help everyone out as much as we can. So that's why, to me, it was a cool project.
One thing on the coffee side, I wanted to know if you guys have a philosophy about how you treat these beans once they arrive here in the States and you're roasting them, if you have a roasting philosophy. And then also there's something, and maybe Joe, you might be best for this question, but on your website, it says that you produce all your coffee in small batches. And that's something I hear a lot. You see on a lot of websites, small batch roasting. But what does that actually mean? Does that mean like you roast every bag individually? Is it 5 pounds? Is it a bucket?
Yeah, I guess it's, I don't know the exact definition. I would probably say roasting anything from, like say 1 pound, maybe up to 40 or 50 pounds at a time. I think the larger production commercial roasters are doing, 100 pounds at a time. But when you do roast those smaller amounts, it's just a little more care, I feel like. I don't know if I would compare it to, say, a craft brewery compared to, like, say, Miller or Coors or Budweiser, with their big tanks. But you could make that comparison a little bit, I guess. But normally, like, we would roast like in 15-pound batches, 15 to 20-pound batches. So, but certainly, I think there's probably a better definition out there for what this small batch is. But I think that's pretty small. You have to roast quite a bit to get somewhere. So, and that allows us, the roasting philosophy is, I think, really just learning as much as you can about how to roast each bean, each origin is really different. The way that, say, they process the coffee, meaning if they wash it, if they keep the cherry on when they dry it, that's a natural. So all the different processes that they have. For example, we just been working with great guys down in Guatemala, and they have an orange peel process, which is a new process that they created. And it's basically they use orange peel and kind of this mixture in the fermentation stage. So depending on all those different things, roasting, you need to roast differently. Every bean's a little bit different, and trying just to maximize the best flavor and the best profile out of each bean. I guess that would be our goal, really, to get the most out of, compare it to steak. You try to cook the steak depending on how you like the steak done, but certainly, you'll talk to different chefs and they'll be like, oh yeah, I would never cook it medium well, or how they do that. So that I would say that's probably our philosophy as far as that goes.
That's actually a really interesting analogy, the steak one, just because I come from a restaurant world, and you certainly have guidelines, but there's an art to the roasting or an art to the cooking of a steak too, because each steak is going to be a little bit different depending on where it came from, what that animal had been eating, and so forth. And the same with coffee, I think, is what you're getting at, is that if it comes from Guatemala versus Kenya, it's going to have an entirely different profile. So you're treating it different.
And the altitude, and there's so many different factors that work into, the profile and the complexity and how you might roast it. Some beans do take a darker roast better, some are lighter. So it's really an experimentation and research, and there's so much knowledge. I mean, that's one thing that I really learned. Once I started to learn a little bit about coffee, I realized like how little I know. So, I mean, and every time, I'll go to origin, I mean, the learning curve is just exponentially. I feel like now everything that I do know, I know so very little. And now I'm getting more into the actual growing and how all that process works. And so hopefully we'll have some Marea trees planted down at Origin soon. We're working on some things like that with some producers down there and things like that. So a lot of cool things that we can do. And so, yeah, it's really exciting.
We've kind of talked through like that first part, what inspired it, where the coffee's coming from, how you're treating it. But now you have this bag of beans, but you're a subscription-based model only. How are you connecting with your customers? How are you getting it out there? You know, Reyjay, how are you marketing it or working on collaborations with some of these action sports or artists that you work with? What is the model, or not the model necessarily, but how do you say, hey, we have this cool thing now. We want people to know about it?
Yeah, so I can talk about that. And I think it's important to mention too that like the subscription model really enabled us to create roast cycles and get coffee to the customer as fresh as possible. That was one of the initial goals and one of the initial kind of marketing pushes, is really how fast can we get it from origin to the customer so they're enjoying a product that's as fresh as possible.
Sure. Can you just real quick explain when you say roast cycle, can you just describe what that means?
Yeah. Just so when we roast it, so having the subscriptions enables us to say like on Wednesday, we're going to roast a new batch of like Medio, and we're going to send it out to all our subscribers. And that what that kind of does for us is it gives us the ability not to have coffee sitting for a long time. And that comes back to why we do stuff in small batches too, because we don't really want to have stuff sit too long. We want to make sure that this is really high quality coffee that they're getting. So the subscription model allows us to do that. And also we are in a couple grocers and we go in and switch out the coffee pretty regularly to kind of keep that up as well. Because from the beginning, that was a very important point to us. On top of that, we've actually just recently really been making a push at redoing some of the blends, which we have done. We did something with Taylor Steele called Momentum, which kind of takes beans from different parts of the world that he really liked. Oh, sorry for the kid.
No, that's all right. I assume he's part of the company, or she. I apologize.
Reyjay, I'll take over for you. I'll finish for a second. So Taylor Steele, we came up with the roast for him called Momentum. Taylor is a internationally famous filmmaker. He started off making surf movies here in Solana Beach, California, where we're based out of. And we approached him to be a part of Marea, and we came up with his individual roast called, like I said, Momentum. And kind of when we were talking with him, we wanted to do something unique. And as he's traveled all over the world, Indonesia and Mexico are two of some of his favorite places he's ever been. So Joe was like, great, I've got beans from Indonesia and Mexico, and I did some cupping with them, right?
Yeah, we cupped out and kind of did some different tasting, and came up with a nice blend, a split of using Indonesia and Mexico, and it's a dark roast. That's what he liked, and those two origins do take that a little bit darker roast. They take on a nice flavor and develop the characteristics of the beans. So
that's quickly becoming our most popular sale.
Yeah, Taylor's an interesting guy. I had a chance to talk to him recently about his tequila venture as well.
He turned us on to each other.
That's right. I decided that when I grow up, I want to be Taylor Steele.
Yeah.
That's kind of my goal, I think. So that's kind of an interesting idea that you're creating essentially. You created a blend based on his personality and his experiences. And so then as a drinker, they are kind of connecting with those ambassadors for your brand. Is that the idea that you're getting at?
That's the idea, yeah, is to come up, like we've got the Momentum and we've got Dark Room with photographer Todd Glazer, which is a very, very dark roast.
Yeah, and that's Todd was our first blend, and he's very into coffee. So him and I geeked out quite a bit, doing cuppings and tasting, and I'd line up, okay, here's beans from 15 different origins, and so it was cool. It was a cool process. Because working with these guys, working with Todd and Taylor, these guys are artists and very creative. And it's just so cool to collaborate with them because they're very creative and they appreciate the process of creating something. And it was just really cool for me because I was just like, it was fun. I mean, they're just such great guys and they're fun to work with. So that's been awesome. And they're into it. That was the other thing, kind of bringing all these people together, was they all love coffee. So they're passionate about the product and the industry and everything like that. So that's cool too, because it's, just like everything, I think the more exposure we can bring, it helps everybody, and the local coffee scene and all our other roasters around here, and hopefully all of us can work together and do maybe collaborations in the future, and just do cool things to help each other out.
Do you actually let these ambassadors touch your roasting machine? I feel like that could be a very particular sensitive topic.
I'll let him sample the sample roaster, but not.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned collaborations. Are there any interesting new collaborations coming out? Or a lot of roasters I've talked to collaborate with beer brands. You mentioned St. Archer as a model for the type of business you've done. Anything like that coming out, or something that you've been working on?
We've got some, as far as collaborations, we do have some, couple things. We've done stuff with Pizza Port, especially in Solana Beach with the brewer Shaner there, Josh Shaner, good friend of ours. And then we'll have some stuff hopefully here coming up in the next month or two with Viewpoint Brewing, which is in Del Mar here, and also Amplified Ales, which they're in PB, Miramar, and East Village. So
we did a couple collabs with Artifacts too a few years back.
Yeah, Artifacts we've worked with too. Those are great guys, Nick and Johnny, and
up and coming brewers from San Clemente.
So, and I think a lot of that is, for me, is I just like beer. So, I like to drink beer. Again, it's great working with those guys. Are very open, and a lot of them work with each other, and they have a really cool community. So, it's nice to collab with them, whenever we can. And
we've gotten a lot of customers and a lot of good feedback from people that follow that beer world, and that the people that we've done collabs with. It's been really cool. So they'll go to events, and these guys, these beer dudes are into it.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
So they say, yeah, we used, the darkroom blend from Marea Coffee. They will come to our website and they'll buy a bag of darkroom and message us on Instagram and follow us on Instagram and things like that.
So I come from a beer world as well. And one thing I would say that makes a lot of sense to me is people who are passionate about craft beer that are getting into coffee kind of have an understanding of the craft behind it and what they already are thinking about different types of hops. So the leap to think about different types of beans or origins isn't a big one for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of comparisons for sure. One thing I was going to say back on the marketing is when we started and continually until, COVID, obviously, we would do a lot of events, a lot of surf events, different kind of outdoor events, and also support a lot of different charities in the area, just trying to kind of connect to people and support different groups like that, locally here, a couple military charities. We just did a deal with some gift baskets for Homestart. And so just trying to, we do a thing with Stand Up for the Cure.
That's a big paddleboard event down in San Diego to raise money for cancer, right?
Yeah, for breast cancer. So yeah, getting out and just, I think we found a lot of traction just being out in the community and doing tastings and providing coffee at a lot of these events for free. It's kind of grown a nice base for us, I think.
Well, you just mentioned, one of the big things that's impacted everyone is coronavirus. Being a subscription-based as opposed to a storefront, did you feel that as much? Obviously, I'm gathering you haven't been able to do as many events, or any, I'm not sure. But how did the coronavirus kind of impact you, that initial wave back in the spring? And then, how have you adapted since then?
I think the initial wave was a ton of uncertainty. It was like, okay, is this going to last 2 weeks? Look, nope, it's looking like it's going to last 2 months.
It's not funny, but it's kind of funny that we were all thinking that at the time, right?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And that feels like that was 2 weeks ago. But, now is it going to last 2 years? Like, we were doing tons of events and being out doing tastings at even like Seaside Market, providing coffee for the Ramachado Foundation down. They do beach cleanups down at Seaside. So yeah, when that all hit and we realized, okay, can't go to the grocery store, people aren't going to coffee shops, everything's going to start getting delivered. That's what we are. We need to ramp up our online approach, sales, Instagram ads, Facebook ads, et cetera. So we did see spikes in that for sure. That's e-commerce, you get what you pay for. So,
yeah.
But ads aren't free. So
It's just a different approach to marketing, I would imagine.
mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, what is the best way for people to support your brand? You know, is it setting up subscriptions? Is it following and sharing? I mean, what are ways that where are people going to find you, and how would you say this is an introduction to Marea, and this would be the best way to keep us thriving during what's still an uncertain time?
Reyjay, you want to handle that one, or is baby still out?
Baby's going crazy.
He's excited. He's excited about this podcast.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of a mix. We have we were doing a lot of business subscriptions too. So like businesses would order coffee through us. So that's gone down a little bit. But the best way now would be to jump online. We do subscriptions, but we also, it's worth mentioning, we do sell single bags online. So you don't have to do a subscription. You can try out any blend you want for a single order. And then we're also, if you're local, we're in Seaside Market in Cardiff. We're always up first, kind of showing some support for the local grocery stores too.
Anything else that we haven't covered that you think it's important for people to know about your company?
Yeah, we definitely have an incredible team of athlete, ambassador, artists, co-owners that are part of our brand. Keep an eye out. We're going to start launching a whole new bag design, and one by one, they're all individual roasts that will be coming out. So
when I saw Chris Benchler's name on that list of ambassadors, that was my first thought, was custom bags with his artwork on them.
Right. Yeah. That's something we've meant to do since the beginning, but you know, starting your own business or your own company, as everybody knows, you know, things don't tend to happen as quickly as you think, and there's hiccups and bumps in the road, and that's good. We've lived and learned from those, and we've overcome them, and I feel like we're really in a really good position to take our company to where we've always wanted to go heading into 2021. We've talked to Chris, we've talked to Sky, we've come up with some preliminary designs. If you see now, our bag is just a standard white coffee bag, stamp, stickers, explains the story and whatnot, but we're going full on cool new designs, cool new website, all that stuff. So
there's really an intersection of coffee and art and community is what it sounds like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Not to put words in your mouth, but I think that's a really interesting one thing I'm gaining from listening to you guys talk, and you just kind of touched on the idea that things don't always go as you plan when you're starting a new business. And I think that's something a lot of people can relate to, in that we have all these grand plans, but they're ultimately beholden to a whole bunch of other variables that we don't control, like coronavirus or, you know, getting a permit or doing whatever. And so as you're progressing and seeing those gains, I'm wondering how you guys, it sounds like you're going into 2021 feeling optimistic and looking for growth, as opposed to just, you know, holding the old shit handle and hanging on.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good year. We've got a lot of exciting products we're going to launch. So
last question is, when you're not drinking your own coffee, if you were to go to, say, a coffee shop anywhere in town, what are you ordering? What are you drinking?
Personally, I drink black coffee, but I got to give a shout out to the Panikin. I'm born and raised in Leucadia. My dad took me there every time, took me surfing in the morning. We had to stop there first so he could get his coffee. Also, the guys at Bump in Cardiff, cool guys. And they make great coffee, great empanadas. Check them out.
Yeah, good guys.
And I just drink black cup.
I'll do a pour over. Achilles Coffee downtown. They do great. King's Craft in Poway. They're awesome. Jaunt in Miramar, Jaunt Coffee Roasters. They've got a nice setup there. Man, there's just so many great shops all around San Diego. Dark Horse does a great job. All these guys are really doing good. Up North County, you've got Steady State, Libra Coffee. I'm gonna forget some guys, so hopefully they don't get mad at me. But there's good things happening in the San Diego market, you know. But yeah, so I encourage people to definitely support the local independent guy, you know, that's out there roasting. And
yeah, they got that retail space, and
you know, so if you can, you know, get to your local San Diego guys and
plus it's good to support everybody and try out their coffee, say hello, and that's what I do. I don't go to a lot of different coffee shops, but I try to, you know, ask them questions and lean in towards like, oh yeah, I sell coffee on the internet.
They're like, get out of here.
Get out of here.
Yeah, get out of the shop.
Right.
Reyjay, I was just asking them, if you're not drinking your own coffee and you just stop by a coffee shop, what are you drinking?
I'll back what Joe kind of said. I go to Steady State. I'm actually in Oceanside. So I drive to their location in Carlsbad and grab a cup. They have some unique coffees that they get in that are really good, and they do a good job.
I think that's it. Anything else we should talk about today, guys?
I don't think so.
Keep an eye out. MareaCoffee.com is our website. Check us out on Instagram. It's Marea.coffee. Yeah, cool stuff coming out in 2021. Oh, so we got a holiday roast that we're...
Yeah, holiday roast is we're putting it together. It's actually going to be probably 3 or 4 of the farms that we work with, like from Mexico, Guatemala, Costa Rica, and maybe Honduras or Nicaragua. Just guys that we know that we're friends with that, so it's kind of our, I don't know, Tres Amigos, Cuatro Amigos blend. Nuestros. Obviously,
I don't know.
For a guy that travels down there, my Spanish isn't very good.
We did a roast a few years back for the holiday. We called it Nuestros Amigos, which means our friends. And we made a blend with all of them.
Well, I appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for being on the show. And we'll keep our eyes and ears peeled for all the new stuff coming out of your shop, or out of your roastery, rather.
Thank you so much for having us. This is cool. It's really cool what you're doing. Your site's awesome, and it's great. You're helping everybody out in coffee.
I don't know about these guys, but I've never done anything like this, so I was pretty nervous.
Either way, I was happy to have you here. And if you keep saying nice things about me, we'll try to keep promoting it as much as we can.
Okay, cool.
A big cheers and a thank you to Grayson, Joe, and Reyjay for taking the time to talk to me. A few months ago, I ordered several of their roasts to try and was pretty stoked, especially about the Momentum blend. It was my personal favorite. I'd like to thank all of you for listening to this episode and all of the episodes of the Roast West Coast podcast this season. We've met a lot of great coffee roasters, entrepreneurs, and leaders, some of whom Steady State Roasting in Carlsbad, Ironsmith Coffee in Encinitas, and Zumbar Coffee and Tea became sponsors of the show, which enabled me to add the Coffee Smarter segment to the series. It would have been a much shorter show without their support, for which I'm eternally grateful. I've been thanking Chris O'Brien of Coffee Cycle every week for helping us get coffee smarter, and I'll do it again. Thank you, Chris. Please stop making fun of me. He'll be back in Season 2 with more coffee knowledge, and we'll be expanding our horizons outside of North County, San Diego, to bring you more roasters, interview coffee farmers, and explore more of the leaders pushing coffee and coffee culture forward. Head to roastwestcoast.com to learn more about Marea Coffee, and find all of the up-to-date promo codes for coffee discounts, including 15% off right at mareacoffee.com. Sign up with your email to get regular updates, coffee education, and even opportunities to influence the direction of this show. There, you will also find links to all of the back episodes of this show and a lot more. The content in these episodes is mostly timeless, but it also acts as a time capsule of what it has been like to try and get a cup of coffee, meet up with new friends, or run a small business during the age of COVID-19. We've all gotten used to it as the weeks have turned into months, and we've normalized the actions we take to fight against the spread of coronavirus. But looking back at some of the conversations I've had this year over video chat, or putting my mask on to pick up coffee, or wiping down a package filled with delicious roasted beans, reminds me that this has been anything but normal. So I'd like to thank all of you, being willing to try something new, and for putting up with me for the past few months. If you've enjoyed this show, and want to share it with a coffee-loving friend or someone who's passionate about entrepreneurship, just let them know that they can search for Roast West Coast on any of the major podcasting platforms, including Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, or even subscribe to the YouTube channel. You could even stream it on thecoastnews.com. They have been great local partners of this show, and I appreciate their willingness to support this project. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving a rating and review. It really helps listeners find a new show like this one, and I thank you for helping us spread the word. Tag at One Wildlife Co. on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter so I can find you too. Links are in the show notes. And if you just listened to this show for the first time, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Go back and check out all the great interviews, all of the Coffee Smarter episodes. Finally, please support your local coffee roasters and coffee shops. Most offer subscriptions if you never want to run out of coffee. Quite a few offer free shipping even. And you really cannot buy too much coffee from too many local roasteries this year. The money you spend supports so much more than one small business. It also supports the employees that work there, the vendors they work with, and so many more. The impact of those purchases will ripple out, I promise you. Shop small, shop local, and support those shops that have shown that they care about their community and make it feel like home to you. This episode of the Roast West Coast podcast has been produced and recorded by me, Ryan Wolt. Thank you for listening. I can't wait to bring you more coffee content in Season 2. I hope this show finds you happy, healthy, and with at least enough sanity to make it through the day. And, as always, be sure to drink good coffee. Someday soon, I hope we can drink it together.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we say. There's a saying kind of in my world. It's like there's a home for every coffee, right? Even the Ohio Turnpike coffee to the $25 a cup coffee.